I'm back. Jeff's here. We got live NBA games on. We got a whole lot of baseball to talk about. All coming up next on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Happy Sunday night, everybody. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast, sponsored by Rival Fantasy. I am Scott Jenstad, joined as always on Sunday nights by Jeff Erickson. Jeff, I missed you last week. Thanks to Vlad Sedler for filling in very well for me. I appreciate that. How's everything on your end there?
We're good. We're good. Keeping busy.
I see we're right in the middle of baseball swing. We both have our football sweatshirts on right now.
Yeah, right. But it's just warm enough still. I mean, cold enough still to still wear a sweatshirt. So
we're not gonna be able to wear sweatshirts very long. So I'm leaning in as far as I can.
Yeah, for sure. But no, good weekend. Lots of sports. Matty Fitzpatrick's on my season-long golf team, so that was fun.
Nice. That was a heck of a tournament. That shot he hit on the third playoff hole was.
Oh my God, ridiculous!
That was nasty.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I thought Spieth had made both putts in the first two playoff holes to win, but yeah, that was nice for you right there.
Yeah, it sure was. So that was good. NBA playoffs have been bonkers. Baseball. But this is a baseball podcast, so let's focus on the things that hurt me the most. Alek Manoah is not very good right now, and it really hurts to say that. But and I don't know. We spent some time texting each other about him, and you don't have him at least, so this is all theoretical for you. But for me, I have to decide: do you bench him this week or not?
Yeah, I mean the important part about that is he's got one start. It's against Houston,
right?
And it's at New York, right? It's at New York.
No, I thought it was the other way. I thought it was Houston.
They play Houston the first half of the week.
Oh, they do the first half. I'm sorry. I told you incorrectly then.
Well, at New York is not really a much of
against Garrett Cole, no less, too. By the way,
so the wind's out the window. But yeah, you asked me. I mean, it's so hard because in the obvious dumb answer is, well, it depends who you start instead of them. But in a 15-teamer, which is what you're asking me about. I think I kind of told you I wish I had enough options to bench him, but I would find it hard to believe that I have enough options to feel pretty good benching him. I think I'm probably throwing him out there. You mentioned to me that the velocity was up early in the game today. I mean, he had a really good start against Kansas City, but the walks are what's concerning me right now.
Yeah. And here's the thing too. When he dials up the velocity, the command goes. You know,
I think it's 13 walks the last three starts, which is rough right there.
Yeah. It is. It's really rough. 16 to 15K to walk so far this season. I think that's K percentage and walk percentage, not K to walks, but close. I mean, it's percentages. Yeah. It's not great, Bob. Not great.
It's not, and the walks are weird. I mean, he was a 6.5% walk guy last year, and maybe you might be right. He might be just ramping it up and struggling and getting guys on base and trying to ramp it up, and then he throws balls up there. But yeah, the walks are weird. We did not expect that. You don't expect huge strikeout rates from Manoah, but you expect good control. You expect he was really good avoiding hard contact. It's been horrible about that so far. He was a 13% barrel rate coming into today's game, and that's a problem. You're not going to strike guys out. You got to avoid the hard contact. Did it back-to-back years. So you worry a little bit, but maybe that regresses back. It's been really rough so far from Manoah, though.
It has. And it's just kind of a theme of this season that there are certain pitchers that we're relying on that, I mean, you can't cut them.
Nope.
You shouldn't even think about it. You probably shouldn't even think about benching him, to be honest. If he's your SB2, I mean, you'll kind of have to ride and die with him, maybe, especially this early. I think it's 4 starts. The Detroit start wasn't good. The Kansas City start was okay. He got some lucky on some hard contact even in that one there. But it's one of those where, a 15-team mixer or an AL only. I mean, I know one guy in one of his leagues was like putting him up for auction. Like, I'm going to trade him today. Best offer gets him. And that's fine. And just a reminder, not everybody plays in FBC, so there are trades. Another on Twitter, I kind of tweeted about Manoah, and someone said they had an offer of Bednar for Manoah. I would seriously consider that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's a team context setup because obviously a closer, if you have 2 or 3, it doesn't work. But yeah, I think that's a pretty fair offer. I think that's a good one. That's one you got to think about too. Usually you throw out trade offers, you get some really bad ones, but that's a pretty solid one right there.
Yeah. Some of the Minnesota pitchers have been mentioned. I think that my guy that said he is putting him up for auction, he's a radio host in Vancouver, Barb Marjanovic. He actually did Tout Wars one year. He said he got an offer of Tyler Maloney and was thinking about doing that. So, I mean, you're kind of baking in the loss there, but
I'd hold off on that one for now.
Yeah. Lomer Boy says, trust Pete plays Jay's pitching coach, Pete Walker. He corrected Robbie Ray, and I think he'll do the same with Alek Manoah. Manoah's mechanics are off, but that's fixable. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, at least he had velocity at times today, but that fit out of gas too. That was concerning. Yeah, I think it might be an April freakout. I mean, back in olden times, CC Sabathia used to have terrible Aprils and Mays, and then would fix.
Back in olden times, Luis Castillo used to have terrible Aprils when it wasn't 85 degrees, and holy moly, is that different this year? He looks awesome so far.
Yeah, I know. I don't have a whole lot of Castillo.
Does that it doesn't hurt you as a Reds fan though, right? You're like Castillo and hope he does well. It's not.
I do. He
didn't leave on bad terms or anything.
And the Reds got a lot for him. Well, at least in theory, in terms of prospects. So, yeah, he didn't want to leave necessarily, but in fact, they traded him, well before he was up too. It wasn't like he was a free agent this offseason. Right. Castillo was, but they were on good terms with Luis Castillo. So yeah, I root for him, but I wish I could root for him on my team a little bit more because I got shut out. And I know some smart people like you were pushing him up a little bit.
I do have him in one of my main events, and that's gone very well. My favorite stat, just to make you know that I'm feeling some pain too. There was a stat today from Codify Baseball. The top 8 OPS leaders in 2023. 3 of them were on the A's as of 18 months ago.
Ouch.
How rough is that? And none of them were free agents, by the way. They traded them all. Matt Ellison, Matt Chapman, and Sean Murphy, all with OPSs over 1,000. It's lovely being an A's fan. But you know what? What's nice is, Jeff, I'm in my office and there's no possums in here, so I'm feeling pretty good about my day. So
nice A's comment there. Nice, well played there. But at least they're doing all the due diligence to try to make sure it's a viable situation there, and they're really
yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, even Major League, they were a little bit more subtle.
At least Major League had some interesting players on the team. Like, I'm going out there to watch Serrano and Willie Mays Hayes. There's nobody I want to watch on the team right now.
No, it's frustrating.
So Detroit's the second worst run differential in baseball at -37. The A's are -63.
Friday night had a lot to do with that. Oh, wait, someone just got walked.
17 walks in a game, Jeff. Like, if you're at that game, you got to just leave, right? You can't watch that.
Unbelievable. I
mean, they had someone come in, throw a third of an inning, and walk 5 guys and hit a dude too.
It's a tough look. It's a real tough look. Almost as tough as watching Luis Sessa pitch the first inning today and then come out for more.
I can't believe he came out for the second inning in that game. I looked up. I'm like, oh, I'm sure Sessa was out for 2/3 inning. And then he gave up He gave up like 12 himself, right?
Something like that. I stopped paying attention after the first inning. The funny thing is the difference. I do think that there are some interesting Reds.
Yes,
I will watch Hunter Green. I'll definitely watch Nick Lodolo, and I'm watching Graham Ashcraft.
Yeah, Graham Ashcraft looked good yesterday again.
Yeah.
Tweet or post from our friend, Good Human Rob Geese, saying he's at Comerica. Have they called the game yet? That was insane. They took 5 hours and 37 minutes to call that game. Like, what are you doing? And Susan Slusser, who used to be the beat writer for the A's, now the Giants, she was reporting, she's like, oh, Joey Bart's walking out from the bullpen now, so America's start. And it was like 3 hours in and never had it. That's insane for the Giants. I guess I'm sure the Giants obviously don't go there again, so they're probably trying to figure that out. But
clearly they don't, because interleague and all that.
Yeah, but the way it works out, Detroit goes to San Francisco now, right? Can't they just throw that? I mean,
no, they don't this year. Not until
they only do one. I thought they did home and home.
Unless except for the protected rivalries. So A's and Giants will do a home and away of 2-2. But yeah, this is it. So I get it. Like, I've got
a massive spoiler alert for you. That game is never going to matter. So I'm good if they just play 161.
That has happened before.
Yeah, the Giants are not good either.
No, they're not. They're tough. They're tough to watch. Some guys on the Giants I've tried to cut this week. I tried to cut Wilmer Flores in a league because he's not getting anywhere near the playing time that he did.
He's tough because he's hitting well too.
Yeah. By the way, it's Rob Geis, like Rice.
Did I say Geese? Damn it! I knew it was Geis too. I just panicked in the moment.
Yeah.
I'm actually better if John Posum wants to call him Geese the rest of the way. Then I'm good contributing to that.
Yeah, there's that is an added upside there.
Last A stat for you, and I promise not to talk about the A's anymore. Detroit also has the second worst ERA in baseball at 5.87. Do you know how much higher the A's is, Jeff?
6.87.
Keep going.
7.
Keep going.
8.
7.97.
Oh my goodness.
Team ERA through 15 games. They're giving up literally a run an inning for the first 2.5 weeks of the season. It's so
I don't remember
bad.
So many of those. I mean, there's a lot of they had like some low. Like today was a low scoring day.
When you give up, they gave up 17 once. They gave up. I'm sure I can't remember what they gave up. They gave up 12 to they gave 11 in back-to-back games to the Rays, which didn't help. They gave 12 to the Guardians, 13 to the Angels. It's just
that's absurd.
They're
on opening night. They couldn't no one could score against Kyle Muller for the Angels.
Yeah, there was a lot of swing and misses that night, including by Anthony Rendon. So it was rough, but terrible. Anyway, but yeah, it's been fun. I want to ask you, any surprises you have so far? I mean, it looks like probably the biggest surprise so far is the Phillies have been really bad. They're 6-10. They did win today. They beat your Reds today, but minus 16 run differential, even with the big win today. The scary thing about this is so early, but they're already 6 games behind the Braves, who are really, really good. It's not a division you want to get too far behind because the Braves and the Mets are going to be pretty darn good, I think.
Yeah, I agree. When we have Bernie Pleskoff on the XM show tomorrow, he wanted to talk Phillies pitching, so that should be interesting.
All right.
Aaron Nola was just okay today. I mean,
yeah, that's 4 starts. He's got a 6 ERA.
Yeah, and he didn't get Ks if I recall correctly in that start.
A weird game too, though, right? Because when you're pitching up 13-0, you're probably just trying to get through 5 or 6 and getting out of there. You don't want to pull a Carlos Zambrano like Kodai Senga did against the A's and go 4 2/3 with a 12-3 lead, which was a really, really painful one. But yeah, it's Phillies pitch is interesting. I guess Bryce Harper is going to be back here at some point, but they're just not clicking yet. It's a division, like I said, you just don't want to get too far behind because it's going to get rough pretty quick if you get too far behind 2 really good teams. And the Braves are awesome.
Yeah. That's absolutely right. And Braves are rolling right now.
Yeah.
Sir Anthony Dominguez is awful somehow. Just
so that's a good question. Do you drop Sir Anthony Dominguez in a 15?
I've seen him dropped in some leagues. I saw in other mains he was dropped. What did you do with him?
I had 3 bids on other relievers to drop him, and I did not get any of them. So I have 1 more week with Sir Anthony. Maybe that'll be fortuitous, and he'll start to get rolling. But I did attempt to drop him today.
Okay.
It was not I want him off my team and I'm going to have 10 conditionals, but there were 3 or 4 relievers that I think I preferred over Dominguez. And it's just he's not getting the role and he's not pitching well. It's a bad combo right now. They got a bunch of guys. Kimbrel's there. Jose Alvarado has been easily the best pitcher in that bullpen. He's not anywhere near the top of the food chain right now.
No, and Alvarado's great. But he hasn't had any saves yet, by the way.
Nope.
So as much as we want to, manifest that and will that into existence, it hasn't happened yet. You were asking about surprises. So my team surprise is the Houston Astros. After tonight's loss, they're 7-9. They just lost a home series against the Rangers. So in division, Rangers are 9-6. I mean, it's all log jammed, and then there's the A's hanging out there. But
I've taken enough shots at them, Jeff. I don't need any more.
I know. I was just saying that they're there. I didn't do the proverbial eating paste or anything like that I do with other teams. So, hey, it's not like they're in Rockies territory yet. They're just evil, not stupid.
Before you go on that, by the way, I looked. The Phillies only have 1 save as a team.
Right. And that was Kimbrel.
It was
right?
Kimbrel. They had a close win against the Yankees where they gave a run in the ninth, so it was a non-save situation. Then they had the game against the Reds where they scored 3 off Alexis Diaz. So they only have 1 save up.
Yeah.
Or 1 save converted, I should say.
You know how many saves Ryan Presley has?
Does he still have 0?
0.0.0.0. Yeah.
Because they had their couple of save ops when he was out for a few days.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. And
always.
And then like Presley gave up that 3-run homer to Ji-Hwan Bae, but that was in a 4-4 game anyhow. Presley is a concern. Velocity's down a little bit, but it's not just that. I mean, the bullpen was terrible today, by the way. Astros are +7 in run differential, but they've scored 77 runs in 16 games. I'm underwhelmed by that.
Yeah.
It's less than 5 a game, and it's not like they've been like playing a murderer's row schedule either. They're just kind of right now.
They are kind of right now. It's interesting. You look up a couple divisions. The AL East, all 500 or above. It's looking like it's gonna be a pretty tough going there. It's interesting so far. I think you're right. The Astros and Phillies are probably the two that the first 2.5 weeks that we're a little surprised by.
And Astros, I mean, they're missing Altuve. I mean, it's hard to get around that. They're also, I mean, they're missing a functional Bregman. I mean, Bregman really hasn't done not really done what we had hoped for at this point in time. Jeremy Pena had 3 stolen bases today, but he was awful in a leadoff capacity. They moved him down in the middle of the order, and he's doing better, and he had a long hill to climb, 222, 290, 397 going into today. But those 4 bags, he's up to 4 bags. But Bregman entered the day hitting 203. Abreu.
I was going to say, at some point, do you worry about no home runs the last 2 months of the season last year and no home runs to start the season this year on Abreu?
Yes, okay. I do worry, except I'm not going to worry, kind of say, because I just didn't get him.
Okay.
But yeah, if I just for his general well-being, of course, I'm a little, yeah.
I mean, I forget I did it because I did the math last year because I had him in the main event where I was up there and I went and looked at it. I think it was one after like August 10th or something like that.
Yeah.
That's a lot of at-bats without showing a lot of pop. I think it'll come. He's going to hit some ball in the Crawford's boxes and all that, but you got to be a little bit worried if you're them. He's striking out a lot too. He's at 27% right now. He didn't strike out today, so that went down a little bit, but probably 26%. Hard hit rate's way down. He's a 2% barrel rate guy right now. I think he must have he has 1 barrel all year. He's done nothing.
Two doubles. That's it.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah. Three runs scored on that team is hard to do.
Yeah. I mean, in the middle of the lineup, no less.
You got Kyle Tucker behind you. Like, you think you'd have more than 3 runs scored just by getting a fielder's choice and him driving you in. It's just, it's been, I mean, it's still, again, all these guys are talking about, it's still so early, but I'm a little worried about Abreu so far.
Pro tip. Don't put Kyle Tucker behind. Put him in front. Get him more plate appearances, at least, for crying out loud. But this is something we've been complaining about for years.
And when you had Altuve, Brantley, Alvarez, whoever else was there, and then Tucker, I got it. But right now, on this team, you got to get him as many at bats as you can. It's him and Jordan that are the guys raking. Yeah,
agreed. I did have some bids on Dubon, who's actually hitting pretty well, hitting 356 going today, hit leadoff today. And he's shortstop eligible too, which is nice.
The short second and outfield on him is nice. No home runs, no steals. I think if he's your middle, I think you're all right there. You're gonna a little bit. He's a former big prospect though.
Isn't he capable of running, Dubon?
He is. He ran a lot in the minors. He's never run at all in the majors. He's never had more than 3 stolen bases in the majors. It's so strange because you look back in the minors when he was a pretty big prospect, Boston, Milwaukee, then he was big with the Giants were fired up about him. He had 38 in the minors in 2017, and he just never has run in the majors. I don't know if he's just not a good base stealer or what it comes down to, but you look at those years with the Giants. I mean, he had 2 in 2020, 2 in 2021, 2 last year. It's been very weird how he's capable. He just doesn't do it.
Yeah, I think he's got decent sprint speed too. Not like elite, but yeah. It's now would be a very good time to kind of explore that ability.
He's 74th percentile sprint speed so far this year, if you're looking at that, and then he was 74th last year too. So he's plenty fast enough to steal. Did it on the minors. I don't know what's happened in the majors. It's just very strange. He's never done it.
Yeah, that's right.
So let's take a look before we talk fully into FAAB, and it was a pretty busy FAAB weekend. Let's take a look at week 4 coming up here. We have a lot of games, Jeff. We have your favorite game of the entire season tomorrow morning. The Boston. By the
time you listen to this podcast, that game will have started. In fact, it already started. They decided to start it early. Started tonight.
The game starts at 8:10 in the morning for us, Jeff. It's funny. I always joke about it, and then it's always earlier than I actually joke about it. I'm like, oh, stupid game starts at 8:45. It starts at 8:10 tomorrow morning. 8:10. So it's obviously if you play in a league, it's 1996. You play in a league that locks in the first game. Make sure you have your lineup. And I don't do any leagues do that anymore. Do you play
ESPN leagues often do that, and I have a Yahoo league that does that too. I mean,
locks in the first game.
Season to taste. Know your league rules. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, so that if you have that, make sure that you check your entire roster. Obviously, play in a majority of leagues. You can move guys around after that. Make sure that Angels and Red Sox, that should be fun. Ohtani's pitching against Brian Bayo, making his first start for the Red Sox. Do you have any Brian Bayo? Or if so, are you starting him this week?
Yes and yes. I held on to him in the main, drafted and held. So I will be using him 2 starts this week.
Yep.
I don't love the matchup against the Angels, but they did shut down the Angels today. That was Garrett Whitlock that locked it down.
Well done, Jeff. Well done.
Thanks. That was a low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
And then at Milwaukee, Milwaukee won 1-0 today, but they also like pounded San Diego in a couple of those games. So, or maybe at least one, but I do like Bayo. I like he was throwing like 97, I want to say, on his rehab assignment. So I'm encouraged by that. There's going to be some growing pains though, without a doubt, but
I like him as a pitcher. I like him as a pitcher too. I mean, who knows these first couple starts? I'd throw it too with 2 starts. He's a strikeout guy. You got to figure worst case. At least he gets, he can probably give him some runs, but at least he gets you some punch outs over 2 starts. I think that's it's definitely worth doing.
Yeah. Just Uncle Ted asks who is Bayo? Brian Bayo, starting pitcher for the Red Sox. He got called up last year, big time prospect. Spent the offseason working with Pedro Martinez.
Yep.
We're excited about him.
I was sure you were going to go with a Brian Bayo's in charge comment there. You just didn't take it. I'm a little disappointed in you.
I gotta kind of keep you on your toes first of all, and you think of Brian Bayo watch. You could go that route there, because Scott Baio was known for being Scott Baio watch. So there you go.
We do have 7 game teams this week. We have 12 teams with 7 games. 10 of those are in the AL. The AL, or 10 of those are in the NL. Sorry, the AL ones are Boston, LA, who play tomorrow, and then we got the Cubs, the Reds, the Pirates, the Mets, and the Phillies. Then all 5 NL West teams play 7 games this week too. For people who are looking at schedules, there are 2 teams that play 5 games next week. The Nats play 5 and the Orioles play 5. Weird that the 2 teams close in proximity play 5 games a week. So if you're playing there, you play some half weeks like the NFBC. You're going to have some guys who have 2 games weeks to start the first half of the week there.
Yep. And they play each other too, with Nats and the O's.
That makes sense why then, because they must have a 2-game series in there. Yeah, they do.
Taking a break from the lawsuit, fighting over those dwindling TV revenues that they have from Masson. But
you don't think people are streaming to get to the Nationals TV games this year?
No, I don't. And unfortunately, nor to the Orioles. Grayson Rodriguez today, by the way, stabilized after a terrible first inning.
He looked really good those last few innings.
Yeah. So
he threw a couple changeups to Eloy that were just like bottom dropping out nasty. It was impressive.
Yep.
Before we talk about good offensive schedules, I want to ask you, somebody in the chat mentioned Shohei Ohtani, who starts this week. So in NFBC format, there's a lot of people that play that. You can play him either as a pitcher or a hitter. Slam dunk pitcher this week, right? With 2 starts, you got to do it, right?
Yeah. I think you do, especially given how disastrous our starting pitching has been in many cases. If you're the unicorn that has a team full of great starters, of Luis Castillo's there, then great, congratulations, go use him as a hitter. But most people don't.
Yeah, I think it's there's a lot of weeks where it's very close. I tend to lean hitter, but Shohei does not get a lot of 2-start weeks because of the 6-man rotation, obviously. So you got to use it while you can. It's an 8 a.m. start. There's been some historic blowups in these early games on pitchers, but I think you got to throw Shohei. I think you got to do it there. I'm going to use him as a pitcher this week for the second starts against Kansas City too. Got to like that. People are spoiling your puns in the chat, Jeff. You must be so upset. Good offensive schedule this week. Usually we talk about teams like the Dodgers have a great schedule this week, but really there's not that many guys to pick up on the Dodgers, maybe some fringy guys, but they're 3 at the Mets and then 3 home against the Mets, then 4 at Chicago. But the Pirates have a great schedule this week. And that's a spot where you can actually pick some guys up. They have 3 at Coors Field and then 4 at home against your Reds. I hate to be mean to your Reds, but going against Rockies and Reds pitchers all week, that's a pretty nice setup. They do get Green and Lodolo though at the end of the week, so it makes it a little
that's not great.
And they get
Reds, by the way, 2-1 against the Pirates. So I just want to say, in your face.
But that's a great bragging point. You have a winning record against the Pirates. They do get Ashcraft too, but they get Luis Cessa in there, so that's 15 or 16 runs right there. But true. But Colorado and Cincy, good schedule there. The Angels have a nice schedule. At Boston, 3 at New York against 3, and then 3 against Kansas City, and they They do miss Garrett Cole. He faces Toronto this week, so that's really nice there. They get Clark Schmidt and Johnny Brito, who was rough last time out. So the Angels have a good setup too. Were there any offensive teams you were looking at this week?
First of all, I just want to mention the Pirates are 9-7 so far. They're actually playing pretty decent ball. I don't think it lasts. I know, really going on that limb, Jeff.
They have a few fun players too. They're not super boring right now, which is kind of all I ask for bad teams.
Exactly, and given the Cardinals, I think they split the 4-game series with the Cardinals. The Pirates did. Cardinals have some issues, pitching issues in particular. They have a hard time getting games to Helsley. Jordan Hicks has been terrible, just awful. Awful again in the extra inning game on Saturday. And the usage report is like these guys, their top guys keep on getting like heavy usage, and it's going to take its toll, I think, at some point in time. I think it's going to be really a question of like whether or not, they can get some of the starters to go deeper into games. And that's why someone was asking in the chat about Adam Liberatore, like, should you rush to go pick him up? Having a good time down in AAA right now. I was listening to James talk about him on Down the Farm Friday on Sirius XM.
Matthew Liberatore, yes.
Yeah, did I say Adam?
Who's Adam Liberatore?
I don't know. I think I'm mixing like.
I feel like I should know who that is though. He's also a pitcher. He is a retired pitcher.
Okay, so I wasn't completely.
No, I it's pretty good knowledge too, because I had to look it up.
Yeah. So so looking at Matthew Liberatore, at 3 starts at AAA, 24 strikeouts in 17 innings, 106 ERA, 1.00 WHIP. Is that something I could interest you in?
I would be all interested in that for sure.
Yeah, just check your league rules. You may not be able to pick them up in many leagues, but if you can, Matthew Liberatore could be a rare positive difference maker. And if you can get him before he gets called up, you don't have to pay the Taj Bradley premium.
Since you're dropping good knowledge there, I'm going to go another one with you there. I think if you can do the same thing with Tanner Beebe in Cleveland.
Agreed.
He's been pitching really well. He hasn't given up a run yet in 2 starts. Strikeout rate's 36.5%, 0.73 whip so far. He's someone that's coming quick for the Guardians. And with Zach Plesac in the rotation, I think there's going to be spots to fill in that rotation. I think and you mentioned earlier we were talking about Peyton Battlefield. Hunter Gaddis is, I'm not totally sold there. I think if BB keeps pitching well, there's going to be many spots for him to make state his claim there.
Agreed. And they've got another. The Guardians have another pitcher in their organization too. That's, they have loads of guys. Espino's still hurt, but so it's not him, obviously. Gavin Williams is the other name to watch for in the Cleveland organization. Is Taj getting called back up? Isaac Moore asks. Yes. We think he is. Not official.
They have not put Jeffrey Springs officially on the IL yet, so Taj can come back. He doesn't have to wait the 10 days because he got sent down. But I think they're just waiting. It's either going to be, they mentioned Jalen Beeks is going to start tomorrow, but it's an opener. I'm assuming Taj can get called up. He's going to be the bulk guy tomorrow, or he'll pitch on Tuesday. Is kind of
right. And I honestly think it's just a stretch it one more day to have the extra reliever in there for the series against Toronto, and maybe even for Monday, and then wait until the last second to do that. So they're playing one pitcher short, but it allows them to bring Bradley up a little quicker. But it's the Rays; they could screw us and bring somebody else up, or just not do it there. But yeah, good rec on BB. One other Uncle Ted brings up, and I was going to actually mention him, is Forrest Whitley, back from the dead a little bit as a prospect.
He's still a thing. That was he was the hot guy a couple years ago.
Yeah, he was. He blew out his arm in part because he was trying to throw too hard. I was at the Fall Stars game in the Arizona Fall League when he and Pearson for Toronto were facing each other, and Pearson hit 103, and I was like, oh, that's a hot gun. We were sitting all in the front row talking about that, and the batter on deck turns around and goes, no, that's legit. And then he riffed 3 times on it, but it was funny. But then Whitley came out and tried to match that, and that's not his game. He was normally pitching 2 or 3 miles an hour slower than that, tried to amp up, just wanted to keep pace, which is not good. But seems like he's a little bit more mature now, so we'll see. But off to a good start in AAA.
Yeah, he is. But I mean, the problem I have with he was bad last year too. So I think I need to see more than one start. He had an ERA over 7 last year, granted limited innings, but I just don't know how much they can get. How many innings he's even going to throw. I mean, he's thrown what 40 innings since 2019. Like there's a lot of just missed time in there. I just don't know how much he's going to help. But maybe. I mean, it's the Astros. They perform a lot of magic.
Yeah, they do.
Uncle Ted in the chat is really talking a lot about Shelby Miller. I'm not buying it on Shelby Miller yet. He came in down 1-0 the other day. In the ninth inning, the Dodgers got a win for him because they scored late. But I still think I'm at Evan Phillips and Gratter all over Miller for usage there.
Yeah, I mean Phillips had a bad outing on Wednesday, I think it was. And then he bounced back the next day and struck out the side. And they've said, Roberts has said in the past that he wants to kind of save Phillips for high leverage situations. 7K, 0 walks for Phillips right now. I don't think Phillips is. I don't think he's out.
And Shelby came out. He's throwing 93, so it's not like he gassing out of the bullpen right now. He's actually throwing lower than he did as a starter. So I'm not in much on that one. But let's jump into FAAB. We talked a lot about other stuff, but let's get into some of the intense FAAB bidding this week. But first, a note from our sponsor, Rival Fantasy. A new MLB season means it's time for a new kind of daily fantasy baseball. Rival Fantasy is the fantasy platform reinventing the way daily and weekly leagues are played, and they brought new games to the ballpark this year that fantasy players won't find anywhere else. Rival Fantasy games include Fantasy Bingo, head-to-head player challenges, and Fantasy Book, where users can select over-unders for 2 to 5 players. With games like this, daily fantasy has never been better. Right now, RotoWire listeners can get a $50 protected first play. That means if you win your first play, you keep your winnings. But if you lose your first entry, Rival Fantasy will fully refund you up to $50. Go to play.rivalfantasy.com/signup and use the code RotoWireMLB at signup and deposit a minimum of $25 to get your first entry on Rival protected up to $50. Now's the time to step up at the plate and become a Rival today. Welcome to the arena. So Jeff, let's just jump right in. Taj Bradley was the big spend up for a lot of people in FAAB this week, whether it be NFBC, whether it be other leagues, whether it be first come first serve leagues. We play in a Yahoo league. He was picked up 30 seconds after Jeffrey Springs felt whatever he felt in his arm. Bradley he went for a lot of money in my leagues. I did not get him. He went for like over 300 in one main event, 383 in another. Were you heavy in on him? Did he go for a huge amount? Like, how close were you to getting Bradley in your leagues? And how do you feel about him moving forward? Obviously on a really good team and a really good prospect.
So I got him in AL Tout Wars where I had Springs, and I got him for roughly
losing Springs in AL only is tough.
It sucks so bad, dude. Not as bad as my labor team where I've lost Seager, Cruz, Verlander, Springs. Hits keep on coming.
I guess at least that's mixed, but
that's a 15-team mixer. But in my main events, so I got him roughly about 22% of my budget in AL only. We'll see. Hopefully that works out. In my main events, I think he went for over. Taj Bradley went for over 200 in all three. No, he went for 128 in the third of them.
Oh wow, so that's a low bet. I would have gotten him in. I would have gotten him in that league. So my bids were not super high, but I was in the 130 to 160 range in my leagues.
I was a little lower. I was like 75 to 80, I think.
Okay. So you were more in the keep him honest. I was more in the maybe I'll slide one through kind of range.
Correct. And the reason for that is just it's the Rays that they sent him down after his first start. They sent down Bradley after his first start. Yep. They didn't know. Obviously, this was before Springs got hurt. So their plan was we'll just fake the second start instead. Now they lost him.
Zach Eflin will be back, and we've got our 5 guys back again.
And don't forget, Tyler Glasnow comes back at some point too. And he's already making progress. So a little slower than behind, a little behind where he made with the original estimate. But nonetheless, guess what? That adds up to 6. And
it does, but right now it kind of adds up to 2.
Yeah.
We've got McClanahan and Rasmussen, and like Glasnow, I get it, but like I don't think we're counting on him. You can't count on that. And Springs we're talking multiple months for Springs. So I think the opportunity is there if Bradley pitches well.
Agreed.
I don't think it's going to be a pitch well gets sent down. I mean, if he struggles, sure, but I think he pitches well, he stays in, and I don't think it's going to be too concerning with him staying in with the length that it is on Springs.
Correct. And I agree. But at the same time, that was enough to kind of temper my bids just a little bit. Rookie pitchers, it's tough to go to the wall for them. especially because we know that the Rays schedule, it was very nice to begin the season. Not that they had anything to do with it, but they took care of it.
Yeah.
They go to Toronto, they lose 2 out of 3. They get Cincinnati. Okay, it got easier again. Never mind. But it's just they got a lot of games against good opponents coming up in the future. They got the home against the White Sox. Okay, that doesn't really count either. I don't know what to make out of the White Sox. I think
I don't know either.
But then there's like Houston. There's a Houston series coming up. It's kind of a tricky schedule for them to kind of figure out. But nonetheless, it's just like, okay, he looked good, and if that curveball, his third pitch is sticks, then okay, then I probably should have been more aggressive.
The thing I like with him that's a little bit different from other rookie pitchers for me is that he threw 130 innings last year. So I don't think we're dealing with a guy, who threw 80 innings is going to kind of come out early. I think he threw 130 innings last year. So you figure he could go to 150 this year. That was a big part for me, was that I think there's a lot of innings there that we don't usually get with rookies. We're always really worried about innings count. I just don't think that's a problem with Bradley. I think that's a pretty important factor in this, is that he can throw. He threw a lot of innings last year, and it's not like a workload kind of guy that you really worry about.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. So if you didn't get Taj Bradley, and you didn't,
I did not.
Who did you get instead?
Boy, was it meager after Taj Bradley. Johan Oviedo in Pittsburgh has pitched really well. He was not available, I think, in 2 of my 3 leagues, or he might not be available in all 3 of them. But we talk about Pittsburgh. Obviously, they're playing better than we thought. But his last 2 starts, 13 and 2/3 innings, 1 earned run, 15 strikeouts. This is someone that I remember picking up last year for a little bit. I think it was last year. He just you see the strikeouts, because medium strikeouts in the minors, not great, not horrible, but some bad ERAs. But the stuff looked really good on the game. He pitched on Saturday, whatever it was. But slider looked good. He looked really good, and it's just not a bad
Oviedo
place
we're
to
talking
pitch.
about here. Yeah,
Johan Oviedo. Yeah. Not a bad place to pitch. Obviously not a good team to pitch on, but I thought he was mildly interesting as someone that, still 25, but maybe a little bit of upside there. Obviously, knowing the team context is pretty rough.
Agreed. I was in on Johan Oviedo a little bit there. I might have gotten him in 1 league. I forget where. Too many leagues, Scott.
While you're looking there, PJ322 in the chat mentioned he got Braxton Garrett instead of Bradley. I really like Braxton Garrett. He was not available in any league.
Yeah.
But
that was last week's bidding for most of us in the main event.
I like Braxton Garrett as a pitcher. I think he will be very solid.
Well, I like that too.
Yeah, I like that. So that I wouldn't argue that one very hard at all either.
No. I did get Oviedo in 1 league, but guess what? The problem with Oviedo is he goes to Coors this week for his start, and it's not the first game, it's not the second game, it's the 3rd game of the series. So batters are all acclimated again. I like Oviedo. I think he's interesting. But
I'm not throwing him at Coors, by the way.
I'm not either.
Yeah.
I'm not either. And that's just the problem. It's like, if you're picking somebody up right now, typically you're looking for immediate help. But he does have the 2-step projected. Probably will have the 2-step the following week. But one of those games, the first of those 2 games is against the Dodgers. Second of those would be at the Nats. So that's probably a startable week.
And I know the Dodgers have struggled in terms of Dodger World being about 500, but they still have the 2nd most runs in the National League. So just because they're 8-8, don't suddenly think that's a good matchup. Their offense is still really good.
Yeah, I guess their offense is sporadic though.
Yeah, they're only 2 runs behind the Rays, but they put up some big starts and they almost got shut out 2 nights in a row, whatever it was, but they've had some weird outings. But you look at them, you look at the Braves have 87 runs and 63 given up. The Dodgers are 85 and 67. Like they're not that far off.
Yeah. Oh, they're an odd team this year though. Everybody loves James Outman, but he hasn't done much in the last week.
Mookie Betts hasn't done much all year, so I'm waiting for that to happen.
Yeah, Freddie Freeman struck out 4 times today. Although I don't know if you watched that 9th inning today in the Dodgers Cubs game. It was a very generous strike zone.
I had it on. I think I had it on the Grid channel. I was watching basketball. I had it on just to see what was going on. Mookie did have 3 hits today, but Mookie's got 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, and 0 stolen bases, hitting 267 after today. That helped. So he was hitting 230 before today. So batting average obviously can move a lot. I'm not worried about someone like Mookie Betts yet, but it'd be fun to see him get.
I'm tiny worried about the stolen bases. I think that is a potential ongoing issue. He was outstolen by Freddie Freeman last year.
Yeah.
Sprint speed, if you look at that, there's tiny degradations every year in that. He's at an age where that sometimes can go away. You start, kind of reminds me of like Andrew McCutchen getting moved out of center field. You hit a center field cliff at some point.
That's fair. I think 10 to 12 is a mark that I think he's right in there. I don't think he goes much over that though.
Yeah.
Any other pitchers? I looked a little bit at Griffin Canning, who was throwing pretty hard for the Angels. Mike Soroka is an interesting one, throwing in the minors right now through 4 innings his last start. We talked about Brian Bayo, 100% owned in the main event, but 36% owned in 12s. Talk to me about the guy that you got in some leagues, Peyton Battlefield, just because I want to give you the chance to do as many puns as you want.
I unwittingly picked up unwitting is the key phrase, lack of wit. I picked up Battenfield Earth in all 3 main event leagues as like my 6th or 7th choice in every single one of them.
It's always fun when you put in 7. You're like, 7, 8. I'll never get down here. And you're like, oh, every league you get the 6th or 7th guy. It's main event bidding is quite aggressive.
Yeah, and
there's no sneaking anybody through, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
No, there isn't. Every once in a while I can't believe I got that guy, and then he gets torched. But home start. Next week is home start. This week, road start at Detroit. Okay, pretty good. I will take that. The following week, home start against the Rockies. Okay, pretty good. Second start's at Boston and Fenway Park, but we're gonna forget. And Boston rakes in Fenway.
I think that's a hold them for the first start. Hope the game in Boston gets rained out and the 2-step gets delayed to the next week.
Yeah, something like that. Well, we'll just have Detroit figure it out. Oh, wait, it's at Detroit. It's totally getting rained out. They'll let us know by, I think, by Pony Express. They're going to let us know about it. Courier pigeons will let us announce the rain out 3 weeks from now. But
Jeff, just so you can be offended here, someone just posted that your buddy is available in their league. Should they run or sprint to pick him up? That's Graham Ashcraft, by the way.
I mean, running and sprinting are pretty synonymous with each other. I think
of running like running a mile, but I think of sprinting like Carl Lewis and Ben Johnson.
So here's Graham Ashcraft. I mean, he gets at Pittsburgh this week. He gets home against Texas the following week. I mean, Graham Ashcraft has looked really good. He looked good on Saturday against the Phillies. He's not getting a ton of strikeouts, but it is, the strikeout rate is improving over a previous year. Swing and miss is still, it's not amazing. In fact, it's below average at 9.6%.
Yeah.
But he's also inducing 60% ground balls. Is that something you'd be interested in?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we don't know league size, but any kind of 12 or higher, I would pick up Ashcraft right away.
Yeah, 22. But he has his K percentage has gone from 15.3 to 22.4. That's good.
That is good.
Average fastball is 97 miles an hour. He throws really ridiculously hard.
Yep.
He changed his grip on his slider, had really positive results in spring training, and it's carried over so far through 3 starts in the bigs. It was noteworthy. I thought that they pushed him back a day in the second, for his second start. He missed Philly, instead was at Atlanta, got the 2-step last week. So he's looking all right. So there's 3 starters now that are interesting on the Reds. So you got that going for us.
Yeah, that's 60% of games when you get a fun starter is pretty darn good. More than you've had in the Reds for a while, which is good. What about relievers? It's weird. We're in usually the 3rd or 4th FAAB period in April. We're like, oh, there's all these closers, new closers picking up. There's not a lot going on in the closer market. It's a lot of teams that are just like you don't want any part of. A lot of teams that have their guy and no one's available there. But is there anybody you looked at all? Andrew Chafin was available in one of my leagues. I guess he got dropped last week. I was in on that, but I got outbid on him barely. He went for 59. I was in the high 40s or low 50s, I believe. I think I was actually the backup. I think it was a 51. The Arizona situation he looks like the best guy, but it's just really kind of muddled up there. So Jose Alvarado is available some 12s, but go ahead.
Let's talk Arizona first before we move on to others. I did pick up Chafin a week ago. And I think maybe even a week in another league a week before that, I've held on to him, but you're getting 1 save a week, right? Go forth and Manta.
You hope it's not like 3 badass lefties in the 8th inning, so that Chafin has a pitch. You just hope it works
which is
out,
going to happen, by the way.
Yeah.
And Torey Lovullo is pretty committed to that.
He's the best guy in that bullpen right now.
Yeah, he is. We dropped McGuff this week.
I dropped McGuff this week too.
It hurt. It
I
really
tried to drop him last week, and it was kind of one of those things I just didn't get the guys I bid on. But this week it was I had like 14 names there. I was dropping him to get somebody this week.
Yeah. All right. So you want to move on? There's other relievers, but so you want to talk Jose Alvarado and the Phillies?
Yeah, I mean, Jose Alvarado has been awesome. Obviously fully owned in 15 teamers, but 64% owned in the RotoWire online championship 12 team NFBC league. Talking about guys that are best in the bullpen, he's clearly the best guy in the bullpen right now. We talked earlier about Anthony Dominguez has not been great. I don't think Kate Kimball's firing anybody up. Jose Alvarado's strikeout rate, Jeff, is 69.6% right now.
That's good, right?
That is absurd.
Yeah, that's
he hasn't walked anybody either.
He is awesome.
Yeah.
He also has 0 saves. That was the problem. And some of that is just they've had no save chances. Some of that, when you've won 6 games, go figure. The other part is, though, it's kind of like last year. Dominguez was probably the best arm in the pen. He wasn't getting save chances necessarily every time. Alvarado was good, wasn't getting save chances. And now they went out and they added Soto and they added Kimbrel. So, and Soto is probably not going to be the guy more often than not, but it's still you're going to have.
I like the Soto ad for Alvarado because he's a lefty in the pen. So if you need maybe a lefty in the 7th, you can pitch and then go on.
Right.
Alvarado's xFIP is minus 0.92.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm not very good at math, but that sounds like it's probably pretty solid.
Yeah. I want to talk a little Cubs. Brad Boxberger got the save today, and Michael Fulmer blew it yesterday.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting one. We kind of thought there was the Athletic article in like a week before drafts. So it was like pretty much like those are the two guys, and I feel like it's kind of felt like it's mostly Fulmer now. I didn't think Fulmer was bad yesterday. That ball that Peralta hit was a ground ball. It goes 2 feet to the right or a few feet to the left. It's kind of a ground out. If you have a shift, it's a ground out too. But it's I think Boxberger's solid is probably the best word for him. You're not going to get a ton of strikeouts, but enough. And the walks are always a little bit high with him, which always scares me. I think we're kind of looking at them flip-flopping a bunch this year. But I think both are probably pretty rosterable in a 15-teamer.
And I think they've made a point all along that it's not going to be just one guy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Boxberger got it done today with some help from his umpire friend. And Fulmer didn't get it done yesterday when they should have walked Peralta. But
that made no sense, by the way. They had a first base open, and Austin Barnes was on deck, and Will Smith was not available. Like, they couldn't take him out because if you tie the game, you don't have a catcher.
Right.
You got to go righty on righty with a bad hitting Austin Barnes, don't you?
I agree. The thing, and I think it was just a horrible tactical mistake. Maybe they didn't know Smith wasn't even in the dugout. I don't know, but as it turns out, because remember it said illness. They didn't at first.
I thought I had read unavailable, but yeah, you're probably right. They may not know because I know that someone asked Fulmer afterwards. He's like, I'm not sure if we knew Will Smith was out or something like that.
Right.
So maybe they didn't fully know. But I actually think Fulmer's looked really good.
38.5 to walk. Yeah.
So I was at 38% strikeout rate, 3.8% walk rate. Just got a little bit unlucky there. You look at his FIP and xFIP; they're under 3. Like I think he'll be fine. Kogo mentioned the chat, AJ Puck and Aroldis Chapman. I think that in most deep leagues, those guys are long gone. I drafted AJ Puck, but yeah, in a shallow league, I'd love to have Puck. I think Chapman is someone that should be added right away. You are a Scott Barlow owner in the main event, I believe. How concerned are you there? Because I think you should be pretty concerned.
God, it's misery.
Sorry,
dude.
I didn't mean that to be mean, but I think you should be pretty concerned.
Oh yeah, I have Chapman in one of the 2 leagues where I have Barlow, so
okay.
But one of them I don't, and I had copious opportunities to do so. And I do not like the cone of shame, Scott. But
it's always hard in draft to grab that guy. You need so much. It's hard to try and find that timing, the perfect handcuff time. But
right, and the
Chapman's looked legit good, which is the key. I think it's more how good Chapman's looked rather than Barlow's getting touched up a little. I'm not that worried about that, but Chapman's looked awesome.
Well, that and because the save chances are so infrequent for the Royals, keep on getting Barlow in these non-save opportunities, and he looks bad.
Yeah,
but that matters, even though it doesn't matter to our guess us getting saves. It first of all, he labors harder. He's not available the next day. Things like that. It's misery. Today it was a tie game and he gave it up, and that's just as bad as blowing a save. It's awful. And then of course what happened in Texas. The giving up the 3-run jack to blow a save and get the loss, that's just awful, and that's going to stick. And I'm worried about that one for sure.
Yeah, Chapman's given up 2 hits and 2 walks in 6 innings with 12 strikeouts. I mean, he's just been the velocity looks good. He just weirdly, I don't know if we ever thought he looked that good. His fastball is averaging 100.1 this year. Like last year was at 97.7. I mean, I'd say you take Chapman at 97 versus 100 is a completely different pitcher. He's so much different when he's throwing that hard, and he's got to the point again where he's unhittable. I don't know if it'll stick, it'll last, but he looks back to good Aroldis Chapman at the moment.
Yeah, he does, and I don't hate Barlow. Yeah,
no, I like Barlow too.
I just hating on Barlow.
Yeah.
I don't. I think he's a good pitcher, but
I do too.
Relief pitchers burn out quickly.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
For me, it's way more that Aroldis Chapman looks like old school Aroldis Chapman so far, and I think that Kansas City has to be enamored by that. A, because he looks great, and B, because if he gets 12 saves by the All-Star break or whatever, you can trade him and actually get something for him, which has to be really important to them.
Yeah, exactly. The last one, I think you put it in the outline, and I saw him available in every league, is Jose Quijada. He has 2 saves, more than Estevez, I think. Estevez, like twice now, has pitched like back-to-back days protecting a 4-run lead, and then was unavailable for the 3rd day when they had the save opportunity. That's pretty much what happened.
Frustrating. And there was one of those saves, I think he threw against the 2-3-4 of the other team, and he's the 7th-3 thing, so it was kind of a high leverage thing.
Yeah.
Quijada's I had him in there. It's just like if you're desperate for saves, you need to throw somebody in this week, and you want to bench a starter. I think he's maybe, he's pitching well. He don't through 5 innings, hasn't given up a run yet. But this is someone that had a lot of walk issues in the past last couple of years, so that scares me there. Not someone I would invest in long term. If you need someone for a week or two, I think maybe you can steal a save or 2 out of him.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Let's talk about some hitters, but first a note from our sponsors at Vivid Seats. Baseball's back. Swing into the MLB season with Vivid Seats and score tickets to all the hottest matchups and biggest games of the year. Every crack of the bat, every deep fly ball to center field, and every heart-pounding double play your favorite team live and in person. Plus, with Vivid Seats rewards, now you earn rewards with every single purchase. Each ticket you buy gets you closer to the reward. Just buy 10 tickets, simply cash in your credit towards the 11 tickets purchase. Just that easy. A pro reward tip: buy tickets for your whole group, split the bill, and make progress towards your free 11th ticket even faster. From behind the plate, or if you prefer sitting in the upper deck, Vivid Seats has great tickets for all 2023 games that matter to you. Visit vividseats.com or download the app today at Vivid Seats. Experience it live. See vividseats.com/rewards for terms and conditions. Jeff, we had a couple of middle infielders that were interesting pickups this week in FAAB. Edouard, Julien, we'll talk about first. Minnesota. Very interesting prospect in terms of fantasy, just because he's a speed power combo guy in the minors. You look at 2022 with Minnesota, 17 home runs, 19 stolen bases, and only 113 games. Obviously, we love that as fantasy players. Has struggled so far. He hit leadoff and had that home run in the leadoff role, but has struggled since. My concern with Julien, I actually got him in the league, but I lowered a bunch of my bids. Is they have a lot of guys coming back. Like he's just
right.
They have Jorge Polanco's in his rehab assignment right now. Alex Kirillov's in his rehab assignment. Byron Buxton's playing DH. So that kind of locks in a spot there. And then when Polanco plays second, obviously Correa's at short. There's just not a lot of room for him to play unless they really open something up. So I'm concerned that A, he sits a little bit, but B, more importantly, I think that they don't want him to sit. So I think he gets sent down to AAA here at some point.
Yeah, he arrived ahead of schedule in the first place, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of the thought. Big on base guy, really draws tons of walks.
Yeah.
Sometimes those guys don't work out well. See also Tristan Casas right now, who is really struggling.
I thought you were going to go full joke and say C1 Soto.
Yeah, I could have gone that, but
it's been rough.
It has been rough. I don't have a whole lot of Soto except for I have him in one league, and it's we'll get to that. But
he has not hit since he got to San Diego.
No, he hasn't.
Yeah,
he really hasn't.
Still walking, but he has not hit.
Yeah, I am definitely concerned at this point in time. I think you have to be.
So what do you do with a guy like Julien here? We like it for fantasy purposes. Maybe he struggles as a rookie, but I just think playing time and all that's going to be a concern. How do you obviously there's a lot of upside here, and you got to do it now, because if you don't bid on him now, he's going to be gone to somebody else.
So I had bigger bids on Zach Neto than I did on Julien when I needed a middle infielder. And the fact that Neto is shortstop, all the better, because the shortstop apocalypse is upon us right now.
Boy, was it a rough shortstop week.
Yeah, it is. It really was. So my bid on Neto and Tout Wars was bigger. My bid in NFBC on Neto, and I got Neto in one main for 117. I got him in Scarf for 137 to 119. So 2 out of my 4 NFBC. No, 2 out of 5. The online championship.
Efficient bidding too. That always feels good. It doesn't really matter, but it still feels good when there's a close backup.
Really good. Yeah.
Talk to me about Neto then. I know he's 22. He was doing really well in AA so far this year, but obviously he skipped AAA. This is someone you look at prospect lists like was set to arrive in a couple years. David Fletcher's been bad, even though they signed him,
which is a shock. Shocked, yeah. I tell you.
It's amazing they signed him that extension, but he's in the minors now, which is making a lot of money in the minors. But talk to me about Neto. What brought you on to bidding for him?
They're betting him leadoff. They're committed to him. I need shortstops in a lot of places. Like in one league, in Scarf, I replaced Wilmer Flores with him. In the main event where I got him, it was something similarly, where it's like, okay, it's a clear like playing time improvement, clear issue. Nick Gordon's who I cut. Oh my God. Nick Gordon is hurtful, man. 4 for 40 so far this year.
I tried to, and 440 with no home runs and no steals.
Yeah. In labor, where I lost Cruz and Seager, I went the trade route because we're allowed to trade in that league.
Cruz and Seager. Goodness.
Yeah. 3 days of hell there.
That is brutal.
And Verlander in that league, and Jeffrey Springs in that league. I'm having a good old time. Daniel Bard on opening day was fun too. We drafted that league in February.
You're going to run away and win labor. That's great.
Yeah. So I made a trade. I traded Lucas Giolito for Jorge Mateo to address shortstop.
All right.
What do you think about that?
I kind of like that. Mateo, I had Mateo on our list to talk about, I think, later, but he's fascinating right now because he actually looks like last year he just couldn't hit. Like I know that all the steals were there, but last year couldn't. He looks like a different hitter this year. He's hitting down the order, but when you look at like hard hit rates at 41%, which is I never thought we'd get to with Jorge Mateo. I mean, I know we had that as a rookie, but last year he was 32%. He's striking out 9% less than last year. He's walking 3% more. Granted, we're looking at 14 games or whatever, but he is a completely different hitter so far, which is the most interesting thing to me. I mean, his OBP is 413. It was 267 last year. That is an unusable level player long-term in a major league roster. It's 267 OBP, but at 413, or even you go down to 350 with his speed, really usable. He's got 3 home runs, 8 stolen bases. I don't know. It looks great so far. I don't know how sustainable it is. Obviously, some of the stuff's going to come down, but he looks like he's someone that has changed who he is so far, at least.
Yeah, and I'm under no misconception that this is fully his level or anything. Right. This is Jorge Mateo's level.
But
also has 7 stolen bases, though,
too. A different level than last year, which is good.
Yeah. Someone made the comment, and again, the lack of attribution that I do for a Twitter comment is shameful, but here we are. Someone compared him to, I think it might have been Vlad actually, compared Mateo as the new Jonathan VR when it comes to the Orioles. You know, someone
sounds like a comp. That sounds like a Vlad tweet.
Yeah. So if it's Vlad, congrats. I got it right. If not, I apologize. But regardless, they're letting him run.
Yep.
He's not a real life great player. And there's Jordan Westberg is coming up at some point in time. He's going to have to fight it off. But
really good defensively, which helps.
Yep. And I was looking for a report in the storm. I mean, I've got Chris Taylor active right now, and he just struck out from the moment I said that.
But he probably homered somewhere in between there at least. He's either homer or strikeout. It's crazy.
Yeah, he is. He's very polar as far as that goes. But I point is though I needed to replace 2 guys, and I thought I saw the free agent shortstops are out there. I could go for Neto again, which I still put in a bid on him, but it was a little more tempered in that league. Because I can make the trade, and I'm not really sold on Giolito either. I know he had a better start last time out, but it's fine. And Joe Sheehan, who I made the trade with, he wanted Giolito when we were drafting. I still wanted him. I was happy with him. Yeah. He tried to counter for Jesus Luzardo. That was a hard no.
Yeah, it was good. I would have answered the question differently if that was the trade.
Yeah. And the whole White Sox, they're just a malaise right now. It's really, I thought, hey, the cloud has lifted. Tony's gone. No, the cloud's still there. They're still a bad team. Still frustrating team.
They are frustrating. They're 6-10. I thought they were a little more middling than that, but 6-10 is pretty bad. They're a weird squad overall. Did you have, speaking of middle infielders, was Vaughn Grissom available in your leagues? Obviously, he got called up with the Orlando Arcia microfracture on the hit by pitch. I imagine if Grissom was available anywhere, he's not available in any of my leagues, but he was probably a huge bid when he was available.
So he was available in Yahoo Friends and Family because the second Arcia got hit by a pitch is when I jumped in and grabbed Grissom.
Nice.
I didn't
I usually like tweet about it, text some friends about it, and then I'm like, oh crap, I should go to the league, and then I see that someone's picked
it
it.
was frustrating because Yahoo's site was really super slow. It took me 10 minutes to get it done. I think they were doing some work on the site. I was like, come on, someone's gonna get them for me. It's my internet. No, because other sites were working just fine. So, but I got him. He was Vaughn Grissom was also available in one of my 3 main events.
Oh my gosh, that must have been like, I think it was 98% owned or something like that. How much did he go for?
96% rostered. There was 2 leagues where he was not rostered.
Can I guess the price?
Yes.
I'm gonna go like 325.
Lower, actually.
Really? How much was it?
279.
All right. Well, that's about in the same ballpark.
With a runner-up of 236. Yeah. I bid 183. There is just the scintilla of a concern that Arcia comes back.
That's a pretty big April bid for you, though.
It is.
Yeah.
Like 3 to 5, what if Arcia comes back in 3 to 4 weeks? What do the Braves do? Because Arcia was actually playing very well before he got hurt.
And I think they still are not totally convinced Grissom can play shortstop full-time for them long-term this year, at least.
Mm-hmm.
But a speed power combo guy that was good upon call-up last year, had 5 steals and 5 home runs. He had 14 home runs and 27 steals in the minors last year, and he did not look lost when he got called up. Struck out a little bit more than used to, but he's got a really nice profile if he can find a position to stick.
Yeah, and I think Vaughn Grissom had a big hit today in the win over the Royals. So Grissom is batting 7th. It helps that they have other injuries on that team. No Michael Harris, for instance. He did have an error. Grissom had an error on Friday. So
was that the double? He caught it and kind of double pumped and then threw it, or is that an addition to that? Okay, I saw that play and I didn't know if that was an error or they were going to give him a BS infield hit on that.
But then there was another play where he could have had an error. Almost got charged with a second error trying to turn a double play. But then he had good range to catch a pop fly later on. So, there's going to be some growing pains with the defense at shortstop there. So Grissom's going to have to hit, but he can hit, like you mentioned. There's that possibility. So I think it was worth going pretty big on him if Grissom was available, and he was available in a lot of 12s.
Yeah,
not mine, but
most main events he was drafted and he's been held. So that's why he was not available much there.
How about one more for you here?
Yeah, go for it.
Was Brett Beatty available in any of your leagues?
He was not. I would have been pretty large on that one. I think. I think he's up to stay. I think Eduardo Escobar grounding into a double play in the top of the 10th against the A's today was kind of the final swan song. And Beatty's been mashing in AAA. Yeah. Every time I look up, he hits a grand slam. It feels like it's been mash fest. And he looked lost last year a little bit, but it's such a small sample size last year. I don't really hold that against. Didn't strike out a lot, which I like. But I mean, I think he's just a really solid hitter that you can play almost every week. And he kind of, even a 12-teamer, I think you can play him every week for a while in a really good lineup.
I'd agree. I'm excited. We held on to him in the main.
I know we had talked about it. I'm really glad you held on him. That would have been a brutal one to cut.
You and Shu talked me into it. Yeah. Shu was like, "No, we're going to keep him." Like, okay, fair enough.
A couple quick checks in the chat. Someone asked you start Max Fried tomorrow. Absolutely start Max Fried tomorrow without a doubt. Someone's asking about no one's buying the Shea Langolier stock. I definitely am. That's the only hitter on the A's I really find interesting. He got catcher eligibility this week, so he was drafted in all my leagues as a utility and just held on to his catcher. But I think Langolier is very playable as a catcher in any kind of 2-catcher league.
Exactly. And the league where I have him, it's only 15 games to qualify, so he already qualified, so that was useful.
Nice.
15 last year, 5 this year, and I think Tout Wars is like that also.
A couple of names. Speaking of the A's, are you buying into any Brent Rooker stock after the large 4 home run week this week?
Does he get to go against Cole Irvin again?
Cole Irvin's in AAA now, Jeff.
So that'd be a no. Well, not necessarily.
Not necessarily. They could meet down the line here a little bit.
I don't. There is a track record with Rooker. He was a stud in college, by the way, at I think Mississippi State.
If you want to buy into hard hit rates, his has always been high in the majors. He strikes out a ton, has struck out a ton in the majors, over 30%. Has not struck out yet this year, but obviously he's not struck out a lot yet this year. Obviously he's struck out, but he hits the ball really hard when he hits it. And that's and the playing time is absolutely available here.
Yeah. So I I didn't see him in some leagues. Like Tout Wars, he had already been rostered at my AL only. I think in one of my mains he wasn't available. Maybe I wasn't a priority. Let's put it that way. But
is Brent Brooker's brother in your main event or something? That's wild that someone has him already.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just making stuff up. But
you could. On the same kind of level, a guy that also hits the ball hard. We've kind of been waiting for a couple years. Franchi Cordero had a good week in New York. I mean, talk about a good fit for his swing. Hits the ball hard. He's always had a pretty good barrel rate, over 11% career barrel rate. Obviously, with him, the strikeouts are massive, 35% career strikeout rate. He just strikes out a ton, but he's going to hit against all righties and play a lot of games in Yankee Stadium. You could see this working out, kind of okay for fantasy purposes in a deeper league too.
Agreed. And it's a perfect transition to our news and notes section too here, Scott, because Giancarlo Stanton has a grade 2 hammy strain. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks, most likely.
Did you see how he did it?
Yeah. Wasn't it like he hit a ball, he thought it was going to be a home run, and it turns off and went off the fence, so he had to accelerate to turn it into a double? Did
you hear the Michael K call on it?
No, I did not.
So bad. And he hit the ball. Stanton's kind of take 2 steps and then started running. And K goes, "Oh, it's a long home run for Stanton." The Yankees, whatever it was, take the lead or whatever scoring it. It was and the ball hit the wall. I was like, I don't know what you're looking at. It was never close to. He made it seem like it was 40 rows deep, and it was it was very strange.
Well,
I get if you get
Michael K's brand
as it hits the wall,
get overly excited over every over every fly ball.
John Sterling for sure, but if he gets I get it when it hits the top of the wall, you can't really tell, but he made it seem like it was literally 50 rows deep. It was classic.
Yeah, just watch the outfielders.
Did you pick up any Nick Senzel in Cincinnati at all? He's back now. He's played the last 3 or 4 days. Did you jump in any here on the former high level prospect?
I did not, and in fact, I talked Shu into lowering the bid, so that means he's going to go off. But I don't trust that when everybody's back, he'll have full playing time. I don't trust he'll stay healthy. I don't trust that'll be good. I hope I'm wrong on all of those.
I think the last part of your sentence is the most important because he wasn't good last year when he played. He had 420 plate appearances, 5 homers, 8 steals, hit 230. So maybe if you need a few steals, he could be maybe a 10-10 guy, but with a low average. It's hard to see it. From what we saw last year, he just didn't hit the ball hard at all. Great, plays in a great park, obviously, but I don't know. I wasn't. I can see it in a deeper league as your 5th outfielder, maybe, but I wasn't overly fired up about it.
Yeah, same.
Anybody else you're looking to pick up? Jake Berger's playing a lot with Yohan Moncada on the IL. Nick Maton in Detroit had 3 home runs this week. JD Davis is hitting well in San Francisco, but again, they platoon everybody. I found that I like a lot of their hitters, but they're really hard to play.
They are, and their park's not good. And I have a hard time with it. Go ahead.
I really like Lamont Wade, and he's a really valuable real-world player. His OBP is 479 so far this year, but man, he sits against every single lefty. I get it. Flores and JD Davis, they hit well against lefties. I do get it, but I mean, Wade's got a 46% hard hit rate, a 12.5% barrel rate. Everything is there. It's just, and I'm sure some of that's helped because he doesn't face lefties, but it's really hard to play in our contests.
Agreed. It is, and you're going for half weeks. You're trying to find that schedule.
Yep.
The Red Sox faced so many lefties last week. They faced 6 righties this week. However, and I know I'm kind of transition, but it's just to illustrate the identity of those pitchers: Ohtani, Sonny Gray, Joe Ryan, Tyler Mahle, Freddie Peralta, and Corbin Burns. Not an easy start among them.
It's kind of murderer's row of right-handers right there.
Yeah, it's all in Fenway. No, that's not true. The 3 in Milwaukee are in Milwaukee, but it's the Minnesota Twins. And I know I'm spoiling you here because you posted this, but they have the best pitching in baseball right now.
They have the best. They passed the Rays today or yesterday, I think it was. But the Twins as a team, 2.62 and a whip of 0.95. That's an insane team whip right there.
Especially in this year's era.
Yeah, that 0.95 is for the elite of the elite pitchers, and that's them as a team. That's really, they've been really impressive so far pitching the ball. So it's they can get their offense going and get some guys back. They could be a fun team this summer.
Yep.
We've got a little bit long here. Just want to fire through a few news and notes. You mentioned the Giancarlo Stanton injury. Brandon Woodruff diagnosed with a subscapular strain in his right shoulder. No surgery, but no set timetable. This does not sound anywhere remotely near good, Jeff.
I just threw my pen when you mentioned his name. I'm
You,
gonna turn around and
you,
spit on the ground and drop every time his name is mentioned.
are
But
you a main event Brandon Woodruff?
yes, the online one. It was the team that I thought was off to the best start, and now I mean you just can't
Makes it
replace
worse.
that.
Yeah.
Because it went from he didn't recover great from his last start. We're just gonna rest him, and it'll be the minimum. No, we're talking months. The quote here's the quote from Woodruff himself is the worst part about this.
Tell me, I don't think I saw that.
He said that if it was around the All-Star break, he'd probably shut him down for the rest of the year.
Holy hell, that's a terrible quote.
Yeah, it's really awful.
So you read that like, yeah, it's only because it's April and I can be back in August.
Right. I'm not dropping him yet, but this is ugh. That means I have a dead spot on my roster too, which it means I have to make that hard decision on cutting somebody else every single week that he's on.
What would do you need? Like would one setback have you drop him?
Perhaps.
Yeah, and it's so hard in April because it's like you're going to look at it in July and have to drop him and you're really frustrated, but you can't drop him right now, obviously. But it's interesting if there's one like you hear. Do you think Jeffrey Springs is droppable in a 15-teamer today though?
No, not yet. He's not even on the IL yet, Scott.
Oh well, then he seems like
stupid Rays. I mean, they're so smart.
Maybe he'll just pitch. Maybe he'll just pitch tomorrow.
Maybe he's fine. It's fine. It's no problem.
He's gonna.
But he's
gonna open and Springs come out of the bullpen and be awesome.
AL Tout Wars. I have to decide by 8:10 what to do, who to drop to make room for like one of my pickups.
Oh, and you have IL
Springs is on the IL.
Yeah, you can't put him on the IL yet
because the Rays haven't done it yet. Thanks, Rays. Really?
So that actually matters for you in a league like that where it's actually a spot. That's brutal.
Yeah. It is. Let me ask you this.
I think I would have dropped Springs in the main event today.
Yeah. Would you drop O'Neal Cruz?
Well, he's 10 to 12 weeks.
Yeah, 4 months is what the Pirates said. He's at 81% rostered in the main, so he has been dropped.
I would drop him.
Yeah, I think you probably, if you don't have IL spots, I think you have to drop him.
You're talking, if you hear 3 to 4 months, I just think I drop him, and then if he gives someone 6 weeks of good production, I can kind of live with that. But the problem is I think it's going to be 6 weeks is like going to be the max of good production. I can't hold him that long.
I agree.
Will Smith, we mentioned earlier, he went in the 7-day concussion IL. Obviously, 7 days doesn't sound bad, Jeff, but we just never know with these concussions. Like some of them are 7 days are totally fine. Some of them 3 weeks later, we don't know yet. It's just that's concerning, especially as a catcher, because you get just a lot of contact and stuff and foul tips and all. I just hate to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen guys that are out forever with that, and it doesn't not even catch. I mean, I just still think of like Justin Morneau.
Yep. It's always the one I think about too.
Yeah. It's terrible. So yeah, there's now with the illness one, you could be like activated from it at any point in time. Is that still true with concussion, or is it minimum?
I thought it has got to be 7 days once you go on the concussion IL.
I think you're right. Yeah. I think I conflated the two.
Because I think there's concussion protocol, which Ramon Urias was in as of yesterday, but not on the concussion IL.
You're right.
I think it's different there.
Yeah.
One that was not really good news for either of us. I was hoping Michael Harris was going to be ready on Monday. There was a report a couple days ago that he was going to be the minimum, and all of a sudden now he's not cleared for live BP as of yesterday. So he's not going to be ready on Monday. I'm kind of hoping I need to get him back pretty quick, but obviously it's early in the season. The Braves have no reason to rush him, but hopefully he's good. Pretty good here.
Yeah. I hope so too, but it's weird how we went from day to day, no big deal, to on the IL to not clear to return yet for batting practice. Like
it's not great.
Not great, Bob. Not great.
NFBC phenomenon Chris Bubich, who more talk about him on baseball Twitter than anybody this week. He had a lot of people talking about him. The stuff looking good. The strikeouts looking good. He got smoked by Atlanta, which, everybody gets smoked by Atlanta. Placing the IL with a left flexor strain. I dropped him, Jeff. Did I make a mistake there?
How much did you spend on him to pick him up?
Like $32 or something.
No, then you didn't make a mistake.
Yeah, for someone I thought was fringy, and I had to kind of keep him honest bidding there. I wasn't going to hold him through an IL stint.
No, I think it's
especially
really
especially one that's his arm.
What do you think about his teammate Brad Keller?
There were some big bids I saw on Keller. I don't know. I've had him in the past. I'm not yet a believer. Are you?
I took a flyer on him in a couple of places in case it's real.
The strikeouts are like career high levels of strikeouts, which is pretty good. But he's walking a lot of guys too, so I wonder if those are gonna kind of go together. I'm concerned about.
For sure.
And the swing strike rate's still under 10%. So like nothing's really jumped there either when I looked at him. So I was kind of okay on him too. Real quick, before we get out of here, Max Fried rejoining the rotation on Monday. I know there were some notes. I saw someone in the chat saying that he wasn't fully ramped up yet. I think I'm just with him having a 2-start week. I think I'm just throwing it. I'm not going to worry about it. Maybe he throws limited in the first start, but I think maybe he gets to 5 in the second start. I'm throwing that for 8 innings next weekend, no matter what.
Yeah, they're not good starts, by the way. Padres and the Astros,
not good starts. I'm throwing it though. It's Max Fried.
Sorry, I agree. Yeah. I am too.
If I'm in a 10-team league and I got great options, maybe not, but anything 12 or above, I'm throwing Max Fried. Joe Musgrove had a rehab start Sunday. I think out here in Rancho Cucamonga, maybe. He threw 69 pitches, threw really well through 5. I think he only gave 1 hit and they gave three runs in his 6th. But most
Which was an added inning, by the way.
Yeah,
he was going to go 5, and he had thrown like 55 pitches.
So they had to.
Yeah. We got to stretch him out. So don't even worry about that.
I think pitch count is way more important than who cares what happens. So through 70 pitches, so getting closer. Real quick here, Ahmed Rosario day-to-day with a back issue. Just make sure you check up on lineups there. Josh Donaldson's going to be back on Wednesday. Our friend is going to come back here. Did you pick up any Josh Donaldson this weekend?
No.
I did not either. That was a very simple no. Jesse Winker had a frustrating week. He had bronchitis and missed 5 games, played 1 game, then scratched with oblique tightness, which he said was due to his bronchitis rather than playing baseball. But man,
was he coughing violently?
Apparently so.
I can relate, but
that's not great either, though, because if you still hurt yourself doing non-baseball activities. So that was a strange one. The funniest thing I saw was I think there's some cursing in it, but essentially Jesse Winker's hurt now because he doesn't want to play in Seattle this weekend or this week.
Oh,
yeah, because they're in Safeco, in T-Mobile, whatever it is this weekend. So I think there was some cursing in the tweet, so I can't repeat it. But they do face the Brewers this weekend, Seattle the Brewers. So maybe
Monday through Wednesday coming up next.
Maybe he'll conveniently have a little bit of oblique tightness for 3 days because he'll get booed there. They don't boo a lot of people in Seattle, but I think he'll get booed there.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of Seattle, did you take that flyer to get the first game of a road trip for the Rockies, Marco Gonzalez start, only to see him get scratched because of paternity leave?
I did not, but that's a pretty wild little situation there.
Yeah, he pitches on Wednesday still against the Brewers in Seattle, so you still get a home start at least. But
I'm
not what you were hoping.
I'm pretty much a never Marco Gonzalez person.
Are you? Yeah, I can get behind that.
I know he had that year in there where I paid for it, the 2020 year, the short season. That's right.
Right.
But I feel like I've never paid for it since, so I'm good with that.
Yep.
Max Scherzer had to start push from Sunday to Wednesday, some right back and side soreness. Always concerning when you hear anything with the side. I assume you're throwing him this week. It is against the Dodgers, but you got to throw him, right?
Yeah. Absent like some bad news tomorrow. Yeah, I'm going to. And they're continuing their road trip. They're out on the West Coast all this week too. So
do you think Fernando Tatis would hit 700 if he played in AAA full time?
Oh my God. Yeah. 420 comes back. So yeah. I do a radio hit in El Paso every week, and I'm very happy for them because they never got Tatis.
That's got to be a fun couple weeks right there.
Yeah, he skipped AAA. Remember, he made the team out of spring training.
I assume El Paso is a pretty darn good hitting environment.
Yeah, it is. The whole PCL is amazing.
He hit a couple of line drives, like in the 3 home run game. The last one was kind of just felt like a juice ball and hitting environment, but the first 2 he hit was just absolute friggin' lasers.
Yeah.
Yeah, juice player aside too. So,
yeah.
Anybody else you want to talk about? I kind of feel like we've hit everybody I had to talk about here. We talked about Manoah already. We talked about Juan Soto a little bit. Jorge Mateo. We talked about the Royals closer. We talked about Luis Castillo. We kind of hit everybody I was going to talk about in the midst here. Last guy I want to ask you about before we go. Any concerns about someone I liked preseason? Any concerns about Gunnar Henderson in Baltimore? It's been a rocky start.
Yeah, I'm concerned that I bought into the hype on him. And not hype. He's a legit prospect, but I paid the full price for him, and that was costly because that's like a starter right there, the starting pitcher that you're passing up on.
That was a 6th round pick. It was an important spot.
We're missing out on a lot there. They're saying all the right things about him, like, oh, he's just pressing, that we believe in the talent, blah blah blah. He's out of the lineup on Saturday.
Every time he sits, I'm like, maybe they're not as invested as I hope they are. It scares me a little bit. 39% strikeout rate so far.
Yeah, he's walking a ton. He's striking out a ton.
Yeah, 1 home run, 1 steal, and 2 RBIs is impossibly low so far. Does have 9
when you're
runs
slugging
scored.
268, that'll do that.
Hard to drive in runs. You hope for some sac flies. Hope Cedric Mullins on base or a Santander. But it's just I'm a little bit worried. I'm not fully worried yet, but I would be lying to you if I said I feel as good as I did about it 2.5 weeks ago.
Yeah. Similarly, I'm worried about Tristan Cassis.
What's funny with him is I feel like I've seen a lot of highlights of him hitting well, and then I looked at the stats. I'm like, oh my god, he's hitting like 140.
Yeah. Now the Red Sox faced all the left-handers this week, so that might be part of it. So but and so they played him through that. He faced a lot of lefties, and they kept with him. Sat out today, I think. But still, 16 Ks, 4 walks, hitting 133 so far this season. And granted, you didn't pay the same price, but still.
Hard contact's really low, not walking as much as we've anticipated. His OBP, which was his selling point, is 200 so far. It's I assume they'll be patient with him, but at some point, they're in the mix.
This is a big week.
Now. Yeah, they're
the big week.
Yeah.
We talked about the Red Sox facing all those righties, but they're not. It's like Shohei, Corbin Burns. Yep. Okay, he might not get well. Yeah. I have to decide in one league whether I want to start him this week. I probably will, but
probably got to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
Some of the chat mentioned being concerned about Jose Abreu. I think both of us are a little bit. We talked about him earlier too. Yeah. So,
and Blake Snell's another one that's in Snell hell. Yes, you're living the full Blake Snell experience right now.
There's always some sort of experience. You just never fully know what you're going to get. The scary thing with Snell is that the walks, which he quote unquote fixed in the second half last year, which was like his big selling point, was he fixed the walks, are back in a huge way. It's a 15% walk rate so far through his 3 starts. It's only 3 starts, but that was the cutting the walks was the way for him to be good, and the walks are fully there at the moment.
Yeah, I just can't get past the whole feeling that he's a bit of a knucklehead, and I know that's unfair to say that about him, but
is it unfair?
Yeah, because but like the whole you couldn't get the pitch com thing to work, and instead of taking the ball, he said, "I wanted to throw a slider. Pitch com wasn't working, so I threw the fastball anyhow, and then I got hit for a 2-run homer."
That's like a Bull Durham skit right there.
Yeah, it's just like that. It was a really awful decision tree there.
Yeah, I'm not too surprised by that. Ooh, Denver's killing Minnesota.
Yes, they are.
Anybody else you want to talk about? Anything else you want to talk about? We kind of went long here, but we didn't talk last week, so I figured you wanted to chat with me a little bit.
I did. I missed you.
Missed you too. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Obviously, thanks Jeff for jumping on with me here. I want to thank Rival Fantasy for the sponsorship of the podcast. You want to follow Jeff on Twitter? He is at Jeff_Erickson. I am at Scott Jenstad. We'll be talking a lot of baseball there this week. Looking forward to another big week of games. A lot of games going on this week, all the 7 gamers. So we'll be talking a lot of baseball there. Other than that, hope you guys have a really good week. We'll be back at you next Sunday night. Take care. Hope you guys have a really good week.